So Russell Wilson went on Dan Patrick's show today, well I guess yesterday when you're watching this video, but he had some interesting stuff to say, and I'm sure if you're on social media, you probably saw it. I think I was on ESPN too, so it's hard to miss these quotes because it wasn't just like the natural franchise quarterback talk of like, oh, we had a good year, I'm excited for next year. It wasn't any of that. Like Russell Wilson kind of told us how he felt, and that's not what you see a lot from a guy like Russell Wilson, so I figured we should talk about it. So one of the main things is, like, Dan Patrick asked him, are you involved in personnel decisions for the Seahawks? And I guess sometimes if you're one of the best quarterbacks in football, you have some personnel say. Like, I think Patrick Mahomes was a big reason that the Chiefs took Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the first round. He was a guy that wanted him. And, Deshaun Watson talked about wanting to pick his head coach. He wanted Eric Bieniemy, didn't get his wish. He wanted to know who the GM was going to be, didn't get his wish, which is why Deshaun Watson wants out, and he's not happy about that. So sometimes when you're a really, really good franchise quarterback, top 5 type in the league, you have say in what you want your team to do and kind of, give them your advice in a way. And it seems like Russell Wilson, I guess for some of the big decisions, may have something to say, but for the most part, he's not too involved, he said. Kind of wishes he was. He says, that some other quarterbacks around the league he feels like do have some say, so he feels like he wants to be involved in that stuff going forward. One of the most staggering stats looking at this whole thing was that Russell Wilson has been sacked 394 times in his career and is on pace to be the most sacked quarterback of all time. Now, the thing about Russell Wilson is when he was drafted on his rookie contract, I guess that was from 2000, I guess it was 2012 to 2016, 15 maybe, I don't even know what it was, but the first 4 years of his career, maybe 5, when Russell Wilson was on the rookie contract and was not making a lot of money, the Seahawks had a good offensive line around him. They did not have these, I don't want to call them bums, but this offensive line they've had the past few years or so has not been good whatsoever. When you tried out guys like Mike Iupati and guys like George Fant and guys like DJ Fluker week after week, it's going to be rough. And that's kind of what Russell Wilson's been having to deal with the past 3, 4, 5 years maybe. So it's been rough for him in the offensive line. And Russell Wilson admitted himself, and I was going to bring this up, is that Russell Wilson does hold on to the ball a lot. I have it on Next Gen Stats somewhere about these statistics about this. It is that Russell Wilson holds the ball the 5th longest. Now, that was for this year. It's not his career, but he's only behind Jalen Hurts, Baker Mayfield, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and then there's Russell Wilson, who has an average time of 2.97 seconds of holding onto the ball before throwing it, and that's a lot of time. So, when you look at that, Russell Wilson is partly to blame, and I remember that game against the Giants when we played him in week number 13, I think it was, or something like that. Russell Wilson had a lot of times where he was holding onto the ball for way too long and was taking unnecessary sacks. So yeah, part of it's on him, but at the same time, Seattle has not had a good offensive line for a long time, so that's definitely a reality. Another interesting quote is that he says, my goal is to play 10 to 15 more years. Now, Russell Wilson's 32 years old currently. I think he's a young 32, but still, man, that's a long time. Like, we're talking like this guy wants to play till he's basically 42 to 45 to 46. Like, that's a long time. And, I don't know, is Russell Wilson like a natural pocket passer? He's not to the extent that Tom Brady is, and he mentioned Tom Brady a lot in this interview. He's not what Tom Brady is as a pocket passer, and Russell Wilson definitely benefits from using his legs. There was a time in his career where he was running more than he is now, but Russell Wilson, if he wants to last that long, cannot be getting hit that much. So, I mean, he has to get rid of the ball a bit sooner if he's in that position. So, let's see, another one. I'm not sure if I'm available or not. That's a Seahawks question. I feel like that one was all over social media. He kind of said it in a joking way. It wasn't serious. He was like, it's more of a Seahawks problem. It wasn't like he was serious about it. And then lastly, I'm not sure how long I'll play in Seattle. However, hopefully forever. But things change, and he recognized that this is a business. That's what the NFL is. You can't really predict things, and things change year to year. Like when Deshaun Watson signed with the Texans last year for that big contract, it was like we would not expect him to basically ask out of Houston just a year later, and that's where we're at right now. So things change quickly in the NFL, and I always say this. I said this in the video I just posted before about the Oakland Raiders, or the Las Vegas Raiders, I'm sorry. But I said the same thing. Being stuck in that mediocrity area for a football team is the worst thing possible. Seattle has had pretty good seasons over the past 3 to 5 years, a lot of 9-win, 10-win, 11-win seasons even, but they are never able to get over the hump because their defense is not good enough and their offensive line is not good enough, and sometimes their run game in the past has not been good enough. Now it's better, but yeah, I mean, they've had times with that, and they don't have a good up and down roster. Look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. part of the reason they won that game or won the Super Bowl is because they have such a great roster up and down. You look at Seattle, there's flaws everywhere. That team is not drafted well. They have not made many great free agent signings. Yes, they hit on DK Metcalf. Shaquille Griffin at some points was a good cornerback on the outside when he's healthy. So, I mean, like, they've made some good picks, and of course Bobby Wagner going back then, but they've missed a lot recently too. So there's a lot of stuff that Seattle has to get right. Not just Russell Wilson in his situation, but still they have to get the whole roster better. It's not just a Russell Wilson problem. So he has good weapons. Tyler Lockett's great. DK Metcalf's a really great deep threat. They got him Greg Olsen this year. Didn't really work out too well, but at least he has some wide receivers. It's not the worst situation in the world. So he has David Moore, too, I think his name is, as a third receiver who's not terrible. So he's got okay weapons, but the offensive line's an issue. And basically, it leads to the question, is Russell Wilson going to work or try and get his way out of Seattle? I don't think he'll try. I feel like he'll give it another go next year. If this gets bad again, then maybe, because I was looking at his contract before, and of course when you trade a guy on a big contract, you're going to eat a lot of dead cap space, and for those who don't know, dead cap space is basically just paying for a player's contract to not have him on your team, which is not where you want to be. So Russell Wilson, if they traded him or released him or whatever, something crazy happened, but if they traded him, they would owe him $39 million. They would take $39 million in dead cap. His cap hits $32 million next year, but if he was off the Seahawks next year, they would have $39 million that they can't spend, which would be an awful situation for Seattle. It makes all the sense in the world to keep him on your roster. The year after, in 2022, it's $26 million in dead cap space, $37 million against the cap hit next year. So there it makes more mathematical sense, but $26 million is still a ton of money. Then in 2023, the last year of his contract, a cap hit of $39 million and dead cap of $13 million. So that would make more sense. Russell Wilson will be 35 years old at that point, so I mean, he's not going to be the same guy he is at 32 probably. But, if he wants to play you for 10 to 15 more years like he says, then I guess 35 is not that old. So we'll find out what happens. I just don't see a way that he's traded this offseason. It would really shock me. It really would. So I don't really see it happening, but I guess anything's possible. We've seen crazier stuff happen, but yeah, I don't expect it. But leave in the comments what you think about Russell Wilson. Is he right? Should he stop complaining? I think he's right. I think the offensive line has to get better. That team has to get better. Do you agree with him? Do you think he'll be traded even? Where will he go? All those type of things. But if you guys enjoyed this video, leave a like if you did, and I'll talk to you next time.